Alright guys, I'm back with my review of this week's WWE Monday Night Raw for June 24th, 2013. And this was a weird show this week. It actually started off really good, and then it kind of died. The crowd definitely died in the middle around the CM Punk stuff of all things, and then it picked up again towards the end with the Daniel Bryan Orton match. So, a weird show this week. I still have to say it was kind of average. There were some good matches, but in a 3-hour show, you kind of need more than a couple good matches to carry the show. So I still have to say it was an average show, but I really did like the main event. Del Rio Jericho was a great match, and it definitely had some other good stuff on it this week. But yeah, just really strange how the crowd died during the CM Punk segment and his match. I mean, it was against Darren Young, so I can't blame them, but still, they were just shit for that. But anyways, Daniel Bryan comes out and he talks about how a real weak link would have taken the count-out victory against Randy Orton and ran, but he's not going to be satisfied till he beats him in the center of the ring. So Randy Orton comes out and he tells him to shut up and fight. Daniel Bryan goes off on him and actually knocks Randy Orton out of the ring here. So they start the match and they just beat the hell out of each other. This was awesome. Over the announce table, just all hell breaks loose, and the referee just rings the bell because he's lost control of the match. And the officials come out and they separate them. They're still trying to fight each other. It was a great way to start Raw. So backstage, Daniel Bryan's pissed off about the double DQ finish, and he tells Vicky and Maddox that it ends tonight, and he's either getting a match against Randy Orton or a match against Maddox, which I'd actually like to see. So Vicky says you can have the match against Randy Orton, and then Vince McMahon comes up and he says some people would say Daniel Bryan is too small and he's an embarrassment to the WWE, basically implying that he wants Vicky to cancel this match. Christian and Sheamus versus Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow. Sheamus hits the brogue kick on Cody for the win after clubbering Sandow. Not much to this one. Vicky tells Punk that she put him in a match later, and he doesn't care. He just wants to know when Heyman and Brock show up. Kaitlyn with Layla versus Oksana. This was really weird. During the match, AJ comes out dressed as Kaitlyn. Kaitlyn's music hits. She comes out wearing this fake muscle suit. She's dressed like Kaitlyn and flexing, and this distracts Kaitlyn for a little bit, but she still wins the match with a spear. So after the match, Big E comes out and does some comedy with AJ where they're making fun of Kaitlyn, and Layla has to hold Kaitlyn back. And it kind of sucked, but when she came out to Kaitlyn's music wearing the costume, I thought it was really funny. I thought it was great. But the stuff with Big E was just shit. The comedy they were trying to do, talking about Big E, and they're like reenacting what Big E said to Kaitlyn, it was just really stupid. Jericho versus Del Rio. Jericho goes for the lion salt and Del Rio gets the knees up. He gets Jericho in the arm breaker, but Jericho counters with the walls. Ricardo runs in and hits Jericho with the bucket, which reminded me of the old WWF Raw Super Nintendo game where you could use a chair or a bucket on the outside. So Ricardo hits Jericho with the bucket. Dolph Ziggler runs out and starts attacking Del Rio, hits a zigzag on him. Jericho hits a code breaker on Ricardo, and then Jericho and Dolph have a stare down, and Dolph hits the zigzag on Jericho. But Del Rio and Jericho had a great match here. Vicky tells Maddox that she's thinking of canceling the Daniel Bryan Orton match, and Triple H comes up and says the WWE Universe wants to see this match and they should be able to pick the steps. It's lumberjack, street fight, or falls count anywhere. Obviously, street fight goes over here. Another 1-800-FELLA commercial. I read a comment on last week's Raw review, I think it was from Liberty Bell, about how 1-800-FELLA sounds like a gay hotline. And it really does. But Sheamus brogue kicks a tree to save an old woman's cat. I don't see this ever getting over. Vicky and Maddox come out to announce the stipulations, and Vicky just gets tremendous heat. It's insane the heat this woman gets. But they talk about how you can design a cover for the new video game and something like that. So Vicky and Maddox show their covers, and Maddox's cover is actually awesome. It's just him with Cena and CM Punk, but he's in the center, and then they show the real cover, which is The Rock. So The Rock's going to be on the cover of this year's game. We get Kali versus Ryback. Ryback gets shell-shocked for the win. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Cena comes out and says everyone wants the WWE title, and Mark Henry disgraced his family to get a shot at it. But Mark Henry has to earn the title. Triple threat tag team match for the #1 contendership to the tag titles. Tons of funk versus the Usos versus McIntyre and Jinder Mahal. Yeah, some slim pickings in the tag division. Brodus Clay dives, or actually falls off the apron onto 3MB. The Usos hit the Samoan drop and the splash on Tensai for the win. Good for them. I think the Usos are a great tag team, and they feel like a real tag team. Not just two guys thrown together like Tensai and Brodus Clay. So I'm glad the Usos went over here. And afterwards, the Shield comes out and has a stare down with the Usos. Paul Heyman comes out and asks CM Punk to come down to the ring, and he wants to talk to him face to face. So Punk comes out and tells the story of how Heyman refused to fire him in OVW. Basically the same story from the Best in the World DVD. But the crowd did not give a shit at all about this story. They could care less. I mean, silence. Except for a few people just yelling random shit, and it was so quiet you could hear all of this. And CM Punk knew. He actually said, I don't want to bore anybody with this. But Heyman says he didn't know Brock was going to attack him, and CM Punk picked a fight with Brock when he said that Brock needed Heyman to win matches. And then Punk says, I'm sorry I doubted you, and they hug. It was terrible. It was a bad segment. I mean, I didn't care for it anyways, but the crowd just being so dead killed anything I had going for it. And then Darren Young versus CM Punk. Crowd could care less about this also. Young counters the GTS with the Gutbuster. Punk kicks out. Punk makes him tap to the Anaconda Vice. Afterwards, the Primetime Players beat down CM Punk, and Curtis Axel runs out to make the save. So Curtis Axel is out there for Heyman to help CM Punk fight off these guys, and I actually thought this was pretty cool, but nothing from the crowd. Nothing for Curtis Axel's entrance, nothing at all. But yeah, like I said, I thought this was pretty cool how Curtis Axel ran out and saved CM Punk. I mean, Paul Heyman has these Paul Heyman guys, but you never got to see Brock and Punk together. So at least you finally get to see some type of Heyman stable, I guess. I don't even know. Stephanie McMahon tells Vicky that she's been so busy with Raw tonight that she will go out and announce the participants of the Money in the Bank match for her. It's going to be CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, Randy Orton, Christian, Kane, and RVD. Ryback goes up to Vicky and he wants her to cancel the Mark Henry versus Cena match and instead give him his rematch against Cena at Money in the Bank. Jericho comes up and says he should be in the Money in the Bank match. Ryback says he would eat him alive. Jericho asks if he's a cannibal, and Vicky makes Jericho versus Ryback for Money in the Bank. And I think I said it was either my review of Payback or my Payback predictions video. I said that if Ryback loses the match, what's next for him? Who's he going to feud with? And then I just threw out Jericho, just guessing a random person. And it's just funny to me that's actually who they're going with, is Chris Jericho against Ryback. Backstage, CM Punk tells Heyman that he doesn't want his help. He doesn't need his help. And Heyman says Punk was getting jumped. It had nothing to do with business. He saw his friend getting attacked, so he sent Curtis Axel out there. But Heyman says, I'm going to fix this. Next week, Vicky Guerrero has made the match that on Raw it's going to be Titus O'Neil, Darren Young versus CM Punk and Curtis Axel. So not really looking forward to that at all, but whatever. Mark Henry comes out and Lawler calls him Paul Henry by mistake. Henry says Tarantino, Spielberg, and Tyler Perry have reached out to him after his performance last week, and he says that he's coming home WWE Champion. Main event is Daniel Bryan versus Orton in a street fight. Daniel Bryan goes to dive on Orton. Orton hits him in the head with a chair, hits him in the head with a chair. Sure, it was in a dive, but it wasn't the whole spot where they hold up the chair and the guy diving hits it. He actually hit him in the head with a chair, which, I don't know, maybe it was gimmicked or something, but I thought it was crazy to see a chair spot like that on Raw. And Daniel Bryan takes a backdrop on the ramp. Bryan charges Orton. Orton throws the chair in his face. Daniel Bryan actually powerbombs Orton through a table on the outside, and he starts kicking him and hitting him with the kendo stick, and then Orton hits an exploder on Daniel Bryan. He doesn't really go through the table, but that was what was supposed to happen. He just kind of hits the end, and the very bottom of the table breaks off. But Daniel Bryan gets Orton in the no lock. Orton tries to use the kendo stick to fight out, but instead Bryan grabs the kendo stick and uses it to pull up Orton's head, and Orton is forced to tap out here. Daniel Bryan makes Randy Orton tap out in the center of the ring. This was great stuff. And afterwards, Randy Orton shakes his hand, but he's got this look on his face as he walks away like, son of a bitch, you know? So that's how Raw ended. Daniel Bryan finally gets his win over Randy Orton, and I think the whole thing with this not happening on Raw last week actually helped, because this was a good match here. Great way to end the show, and really helped what was at this point a subpar Raw up until the main event. So as far as this week's show goes, I still have to say it was average. You can't really have a few good matches on a 3-hour show and expect anybody to really give a damn, but still the main event was good, so this one was in the middle for me. But anyways, that's my review of this week's show. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on this week's show in the comments, and thanks for watching. Bye. The crowd died during the CM Punk segment and his match. I mean, it was against Darren Young, so I can't blame them, but still, they were just shit for that. But anyways, Daniel Bryan comes out and he talks about how a real weak link would have taken the count-out victory against Randy Orton and ran, but he's not going to be satisfied till he beats him in the center of the ring. Alright guys, I'm back with my review of this week's WWE Monday Night Raw for June 24th, 2013. And this was a weird show this week. It actually started off really good, and then it kind of died. The crowd definitely died in the middle around the CM Punk stuff of all things, and then it picked up again towards the end with the Daniel Bryan Orton match. He's lost control of the match, and the officials come out and they separate them. They're still trying to fight each other. It was a great way to start Raw. So backstage, Daniel Bryan's pissed off about the double DQ finish, and he tells Vicky and Maddox that it ends tonight, and he's either getting a match against Randy Orton or a match against Maddox, which I'd actually like to see. So a weird show this week. I still have to say it was kind of average. There were some good matches, but in a 3-hour show, you kind of need more than a couple good matches to carry the show. So I still have to say it was an average show, but I really did like the main event. Del Rio Jericho was a great match, and it definitely had some other good stuff on it this week. But yeah, just really strange how So Randy Orton comes out, and he tells him to shut up and fight. Daniel Bryan goes off on him and actually knocks Randy Orton out of the ring here. So they start the match, and they just beat the hell out of each other. This was awesome. Over the announce table, just all hell breaks loose, and the referee just rings the bell because he